Start again from David on the days 4B at the two dots. We discussed this already yesterday, but we're just going to go back because it's one long subject. So we're dealing over here now. We know we've been saying the whole time that we have to destroy the chametz. At least Bindia Rai said stop eating chametz by 12 o'clock midday on the 14th erev Pesach. And the real question is going to be, how do we even know this? How do we know this? And now the Gemara is going to go back and forth. It's going to turn itself into a pretzel. It's going to go through all the psukim that seem to contradict one and another. It's very confusing. So the big rule of this, the big rule is be patient. All the questions and contradictions that it seems to be likely happening are all going to get answered as you flow through the Gemara, but the Gemara is going to take its time getting to it. Okay, so let's start. We are again on the Abdalid Amid Bays at the two dots. We started it yesterday, but we're going to start it again today just so that we got a flow. Tanan Hassam, we learned over there. Rameir Omer, Rameir says, Eichlin Kol Chamesh, on Erev Pesach, the 14th, you can eat chametz all the way through the 5th hour, V'sarpen B'tchila Sheish. And then you have to burn the remaining chalas and start getting tashbisu, get rid of the chametz by the 6th hour, by midday. Again, because the korban Pesach is brought right after the Tomid Bein HaAbayim, the afternoon Tomid is brought. So by 12:30, we started bringing the korban Pesach. So you've got it by the 6th hour, you've got to stop eating chametz. You've got to get rid of your chametz. You got to burn it away. And let's not even burn it. I don't want to use the word burn, but here it says, burn it. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Eichlin Kol Arba, no, you can eat chametz on Erev Pesach through the 4th hour. V'toilin Kol Chamesh, the 5th hour, it's almost everything stays in abeyance, which means you cannot eat chametz, but you're still allowed to feed your chametz to your animals. The sarpin b'tchila seish, and then you have to destroy and get rid of your chametz at the beginning of the 6th hour. What does this mean? The kula alma, according to everyone, mi chametz misheish shalis lamala is also. According to Sai Rabbi Yehuda, regardless, by the 6th hour and on, it's also to eat chametz. It's also to have chametz. You have to destroy it. Okay, so the Gemara now asks the question: Minolan, how do I know that Erev Pesach, which is not yet Pesach, there's an issur not to eat chametz? There's an issur already at this point to have the chametz, that I'm burning the chametz. It says Amar Abaya Trei Kroi Ksivu. There are two psukim. Ksiv. It says first, Shivas Yomim Sa'ar Lo Yimotze Bibatei. 7 days. Leaven, which is chametz, you shall not find in your houses. That means all 7 days of Pesach, starting with the night of Pesach, the Seder night, from that moment on, all 7 days, you shall not have any chametz in your house. Bal yimotze, you shall not find any chametz. Viksiv, but there is another pasuk right there in the same parak, in the 12th parak, in Parshas Boy. But b'yoyim harishon, on the first day, tashbisu sa'ar mibatechem, you shall eliminate sa'ar, leavened bread, chametz from your house. What does that mean? That on the first day, you eliminate the chametz. That means, therefore, that obviously you could begin the day with chametz, and then sometime during that day, you're going to destroy it. Which means, therefore, it looks like from this pasuk that you actually begin Pesach. You begin Pesach with chametz, and one of the jobs of the first day of Pesach is to destroy the Pesach, is to dispose of the chametz. So obviously, it's a contradiction between the first pasuk, which said straight out, Shivas Yomim Sa'ar Lo Yimotze Bibatechem, all 7 days. The moment the holiday begins, the minute the nighttime comes, that's it. And the next one says, Ach b'yom harishon. Okay, so what's going on? The word Ach b'yom harishon, but the first day, the rabbis Arba Osa Labir is coming to include the 14th day, Erev Pesach. Erev Pesach, the day before Pesach, the eve of Pesach, in the rule that you have to destroy the chametz on Erev Pesach, which means the Gemara is saying that the word the Yom Harishon, the first day, doesn't actually mean the first day of the holiday, the first day of Pesach. It actually means the day prior to the beginning of the Yom Tov. Okay, and obviously we're going to have to understand where does Rishon come to connotate the day before, Erev Yom Tov, as opposed to the first day of Yom Tov itself. Break the Gemara first. Maybe it's coming to teach us, but Yom Rishon is talking about the first day, and it's coming to tell us that you know when the time to destroy the chametz is? When Pesach comes, right before the Seder. When right before the Seder, you come home from shul, and right away you destroy the chametz, and then you begin the Seder. The Sal Kedat Chamina, because I might have thought from the first words, from the first pasuk, Shivas Yomim, Sa'ar lo yimotze b'vetechem, 7 days, leaven you shall not find in your house. I might have thought, Haba Amina, Yomim Ksiv, days it says, Shivas Yomim, days, Yomim in, that means the Isser, the prohibition of having chametz is by day, leilois loy. But at night we don't have the prohibition, which means that if I only had the first pasuk of Shivas Yomim, 7 days, I would have thought that the Isser, the prohibition of having chametz in your house, by definition, first starts in the daytime of the 15th, not the night before Seder night. Kamash Malon, the pasuk comes to tell us, Ach b'yom harishon, afilu b'leilos, even on the night of the 15th, you cannot have any chametz. You have to destroy it. So therefore, I don't have yet a pasuk to tell me anything about Erev Pesach, that why I have to destroy it before the Yom Tov shows up. Because Ach b'yom harishon cannot be talking about, who said it's talking about Erev Pesach? It might be talking about Pesach itself to teach us that even at night, at the nighttime, at the beginning of the Yom Tov, you already have to have gotten rid of all of your chametz. So that the word Shivas Yomim doesn't mean by day, it encapsulates the entire thing. Zafti Gemara, hu lo yitzurch. No, I don't need by Yom Harishon to teach me that the 15th, that the holiday begins, when the Yom Tov begins, that of course, there's already the prohibition of having chametz and of eating chametz. And the reason for that is because we have the Yisai, we're now on the Daf Hey Amid Aleph, we have the Yisai called a Hekish. A Hekish, it means a comparison. When the Torah HaKadosha brings one topic and then brings another topic literally in the same pasuk, half the pasuk talks about one topic and the other half talks another topic. Or there's a Gezeirah Shabbat, meaning that one word is used in this topic and the same word is used in a different topic. It leaves room to compare and contrast. This is what this Gemara is about to do. Ha'ikish, because we can compare Hashbasat Sa'ar, the destroying, the eliminating of the leavened bread, la'achilas chametz, to the eating of chametz, and the prohibition of eating chametz. Va'achilas chametz, and the prohibition of eating chametz, la'achilas matzah, gets compared to the positive commandment of eating matzah. How does this work? Because listen to the psukim. Hashbasat Sa'ar, eliminating the leavened bread, la'achilas chametz, is compared to the prohibition of eating chametz tiksiv, because the pasuk says the following. This is one pasuk in Parshas Bo. Shivas Yomim, 7 days. Sa'ar lo yumatzah b'vatechem. That's of course the rule of you have to eliminate your chametz. You cannot find chametz in your house. And then the pasuk continues. Because oichel machnetzes v'nikwasa. because anyone who eats chametz will be cut off from the nation. So the pasuk begins with 7 days you shall not find chametz, which means the law of hashpasa, eliminating your chametz, and it continues v'achilas chametz kichol oichel machmetzes v'nichlusa, because whoever eats chametz will be cut off, which means that the pasuk is together with hashpasa, eliminating is together with the prohibition, the isser of eating chametz. Now, so therefore, we can compare one to the other. V'achilas chametz la'achilas matzah, and the prohibition of eating chametz is compared to the positive command of eating the matzah. Diksiv, kol machmetzes lo yisechelu. All leaven shall not be eaten. V'chol moishvei seichem, in all your living places, toichlu matzahs, you should eat matzahs. So again, the same pasuk is once again starting with the prohibition of not eating chametz and flowing right into the positive commandment of toichlu matzahs, eating matzahs. And what's the rule about matzahs? V'ksiv bo b'matzah, and it says by matzah, be'erev toichlu matzahs. In the evening you shall eat matzahs. So let's roll it now back. Matzah begins, be'erev toichlu matzah begins on the night of the 15th. Chametz is compared to matzah because the pasuk brings the prohibition of eating chametz together with the positive commandment of eating matzah. So just like matzah, the commandment of eating matzah starts the night of the 15th, so the prohibition of eating chametz also starts the night of the 15th. And since the first pasuk compares destroying, eliminating the leavened bread to the prohibition of chametz, just like the prohibition of starts the night of the 15th because it's compared to matzah, so too is the elimination of the chametz also starts the night of the 15th. So that means I don't need ach b'yom harishon, the other pasuk, but the first day, to teach me that everything starts on the night of Pesach, because it flows with a hekesh one to the other. Matzah, it starts on the 15th. Chametz is compared to matzah, so it starts on the 15th. And destroying and eliminating the chametz is compared to eating chametz, and it also starts on the 15th. So I don't need the pasuk of ach b'yom harishon. Therefore, it's open, and it can come to tell me that no, the prohibition of having chametz actually starts not at night of the 15th, but in the afternoon at 12 o'clock, midday, on the 14th, on Erev Pesach. So Frank the Gemara, okay, great. But maybe the Ema Larabis Lel Yudalad Labir. You're right. The Ach B'Yom Harisha, but the first day is coming to tell us about the 14th. Who said it's coming to tell us about the 14th in the middle of the day? That means part of the day you can eat chametz, and all of a sudden, smack dab in the middle of the day, now you can't. Maybe it's talking about already, let's go all the way back to the beginning of the 14th day, i.e., at the time of B'dikas chametz. Just like you do B'dikas chametz on the night of the 14th, right after B'dika, go ahead and destroy and eliminate your chametz, right? And that's it. Zavti Gemara, B'yoyim Ksiv. The pasuk says, B'yoyim Harishon, in the day of the first, which we're now explaining the first means the first, i.e., the day prior to the holiday, Erev Yom Tov. So in the morning, Ve'ema Mitzapra, well, if you're telling me it must be done by day, then let it be done at daybreak. What's this business that we get until midday, until the 6th hour to hang out? Let's make it the moment you get up, right? Davening is at 6:45. Well, get up at 6, burn the chametz and come running to shul. Now we got one extra word, ach b'yom harishon, but b'yom harishon. Ach is chalek, is coming to tell us that we do split. We split. It is the first day, but not the whole first day. So therefore, it means you split. Since you split, it's tied to the Karban Pesach, so we got the 6th hour. Rabbi, okay, everybody's got it so far? That was, believe it or not, that's not the only hard part of the Gemara today. It's going to get more confusing. Rebbe, okay. The Bay Rebbe Yishmael Tana, from the Yeshiva Rebbe Yishmael, they learned Mitzinu Yud Dalid, that the 14th day of Nisan, Erev Pesach, Shenikra Rishon. It is called the first. I'm going to show you that it is called the first. Shenema, because there is a pasuk again in that Perik Yud Beis, Bari Shine in the first, Ba'arba Asa Yom LaChodesh, on the 14th day of the Chodesh. That's what the pasuk says. So the pasuk over there says Barisha Ba'arba Asa Yom LaChodesh. The pasuk clearly says on the first, on the 14th day of the Chodesh, that's when everything should get started. So we see that the word Barishain could connotate not just the first day of the holiday, but in fact, the first, meaning the day before the holiday, what we call Erev Yom Tov. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Omar, Rishon d'mi'ikara mashma. Rishon always means prior. The Omar Kra, because it says in Eov, in Job, and the Harisha Adam Tibale, were you born prior to Adam, to Adam Harishan? In other words, you say, you think you came before Adam Harishan, which means the word Harishan connotates before. Reality, we have with famous, if you remember on Yom Kippur, we say, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Kayamar Hashem, Ani Rishain, I was first, Ani Acharoin, and I was last. Besides me, there is no Lord. But Rishon always means I was first, before there was a world. So essentially, this is the same thing over here. Harishon Adam Toila, before, prior, were you born prior to Adam Harishon? That's the point. Elamayata. So we've come to the conclusion that the word Rishon, right, Harishon, doesn't mean the day of the first day of the holiday. It means the day prior Erev Yom Tov. Something more, is that a fact? Well, then in that case, we've got a problem. Because we've got another Yom Tov that starts also on the 15th called Sukkot. When do we take the Lulav on Sukkot? Obviously, we take it on the first day of Yom Tov. Right? Something Gemara, and you shall take for yourselves on the first day. Creates other campus tomorrow, the Lulav and Esrig, Hachanami, Rishon, Demi, Karamashma. But according to the way you just explained it, that means this person is coming to tell us that in fact we're supposed to take the Lulav and Esrig when? Not on the first day of Sukkot, but actually on Erev Sukkot, on the day prior to Sukkot. Obviously, that's ridiculous. So that means the word Rishon doesn't always mean, you can't make a blanket rule that says Rishon means Erev and not the actual first day of the Yom Tov. Stop the Gemara, Sukkot is different. Shani Hossam, Diksiv, Visamachtem, and you shall rejoice, Lifnei Hashem Elekechem, in front of your Hashem, your God, Shivas Yomim, 7 days. Ma Shavi, Shavi Lechag, just like the 7th. Is the 7th day of the Yom Tov, i.e. Shana Rabbah. Rishon L'Chag, over there, first means the first day of the actual Chag, the first day of Sukkot. Zok Gemara, well, then we have a problem over here on Pesach. Because what does our pasuk say? Hachanami Ksiv, Ach b'yoyim harishon, but on the first day, Tashbisu, Shivas Yomim Matzos Techelu. The pasuk ends 7 days matzos you shall eat, which means just like 7 days, the 7th day of Pesach is still under the rules of what it is the actual Yom Tov. So too the first part of the pasuk, Ach b'Yom Harishon, would logically be the first day of the actual Yom Tov. So Ach b'Yom Harishon cannot be talking about Erev Pesach. And if that's the case, we're back to all the questions we had before. The pasuk should have said Rishon without the hey, ha Rishon, the first. In the Gemara's parlance, hey is always the hey hayidiyah, the hey, the knowledgeable hey, the leading hey. It's coming to tell us something. The word the doesn't have to be there. You can say ach b'yom rishon. What's the ach b'yom rishon? Ha rishon lamali. Ha, what is the head coming to tell us? It's coming to teach us, like we said, that in fact, we're not talking about the first day of Pesach. We're talking about Erev Pesach, and we have to eliminate the chametz on Erev Pesach by the middle of the day. If that's so, Hasam Nami by Sukkis, right? The Hasanami Harushai B'yom ha-rishon. You just said over there before that no, over there that rishon is talking about the first day of Yom Tov because it says Shavim, right? Just like the seventh day of Yom Tov. So too, the first day is actual Yom Tov, but over there you also have a which would then lead to take the lulav and esrog on Erev Sukkot, not on Sukkot itself, which is of course ridiculous. Visu Hasam Kisiv regarding the rule that you're not allowed to work, which is called Shabbos, right? That you have to be Shabbos from Malacha. You have to rest from work. By Yom HaRishon Shabbosai on Sukkot, the first day you shall rest. Uba Yom HaShmini Shabbosai. And on the eighth day, Shmini Atzeres, you shall rest from work. Emo Rishon Demi Kroy Bashma. According to this, say that Ha Rishon really means that when are you supposed to rest? Not on the first day of Sukkot, but in fact, Erev Sukkot. You get to tell your wife, so sorry, I can't run to Winn-Dixie. I can't run to the Grove. Ha Rishon. I get to take a break. I'm off. I'm Shabbos. It's already Shabbos on Erev Sukkot. Try that out. It's not going to work. And we know, of course, it's not the case. So again, the psukim are not flowing correctly. They're contradicting one to the other. So the Gemara Shani Hasab. Wait. Over there, by Sukkot, it's different. The Omakra, by Yom HaShmini Shabbosai. Ma Shemini. Shmini the Chag, just like the 8th, is automatically the 8th of the holiday, otherwise known as Shmini Atzeres. If you remember in Eretz Yisrael, Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah is one day. It's only here that we have it broke. But the 8th day, which is really the last day of the Yom Tov, is Shmini Atzeres. Rishon the Chag. Just like Shmini is automatically the last day of the Yom Tov, but it is a Yom Tov. So too, the first part of the pasuk Al Karchach, we have no choice but to say it is also the first day of the Yom Tov and not Erev Sukkot. Is Ibazai, then why do I need? It should have simply said V'lakata lachem b'yom rishon. Why does it say V'lakata lachem b'yom ha rishon, the first? What's the extra hay then? Extra hay for ha rishon lamali limiute chalash to eliminate, to be memayit, to be memayit, to exclude chalamoid from the issur resting. On chalamoid you may work. From this way, from this Gemara, therefore, it's mashma that actually minat Torah you're fully entitled to work completely on chalamoid. It's only midrabanan that they put in the rules. Tosfos, by the way, says something very interesting. To look at the second Tosfos, it's a small little Tosfos. Lemiyute chalash atabayu koy. It's going on two things. One, to teach us that chalamoid you can work, but also koy de lulav einay nitul b'medina ela yom echad. That in fact, in the times of the Beis Hamikdash, only in the Beis Hamikdash did they take the lulav and esrog all 7 days. But in fact, in the rest of Eretz Yisrael and certainly Chutz La'aretz, they only took the lulav and esrog on the first day of Yom Tov, and that was it. The rest of the time, they did not take the lulav and esrog. So Zakti Gemara, so we just learned out from Ha Rishon to Minamiyute to exclude Chalash Shemoed that no, you don't have to rest on Chalash Shemoed. You're allowed to work on Chalash Shemoed. So, pray to Gemara, what are you talking about? The pasuk, you don't need the hay for that. From the pasuk itself, you can see it. By the fact that the pasuk says, "Vayom harishon Shabbosai, u'b'yom hashmini Shabbosai," it means the first day you have to rest from work, The 8th day you have to rest from work, but the rest of the days you're fully entitled to work. So I don't need the extra hay to tell me this. So I was like, what's the extra hay for? The Gemara, Itzrich. No, you do need the extra hay. Sal, because there's one extra letter. Sal kedata chamina, I would have thought, hoyol dixi kosav rachmona. Ooh, biyoim hashmini. It should have really said, it should have just said, biyoim hashmini. Ooh, biyoim. So just like I told you before, hey always means, hey hayedia, the hey that's coming to tell us something. The word vav, ooh, and it's called the vav hamoisif. The vav that's coming to add something. Hoyel the Kotzev Rachmana Ubi Yoim Hashmini vav moisif al inyan rishon. The vav is coming to add to the first thing, which of course was that on the first day and on the 8th day you shall rest. It's coming to add something. You would have said, well, the vav hamoisif is coming to add something. That means even on Chalamoid you shall not be able to work. You have to rest. Kamash Malon, we go then say, Harishon, right, to offset the vav. Harishon tells us that no, the Chalamoid, you're off the hook and you can work. So up to Gemara, if that's the case, then why did the Brasik bring the extra vav, and then have to bring the hay to offset the vav? V'loy lichter brachmana loy vav, v'loy hay. Don't bring anything. And then we don't have any problems. There's no confusion. Obviously, it says, Bayoim Rishon, Bayoim Shemini, you have to rest. And I will know on my own that the middle days, I don't have to rest, I can work. So, the Su, Hossam by Pesach, Diksiv, it says in the Pasik, Bayoim Harishon, Biyoim, not Ubiyoim. Biyoim Harishon with the extra hay, Mikra Kodesh, is you should make it holy, meaning that you shalln't work. This is the pasuk by Pesach that lets us know that we're not allowed to work on Pesach. From here, the way we've been learning up is that from this we would say, when am I not allowed to work? Actually, from Erev Pesach. From Erev Pesach, I'm not allowed to work because we just finished saying by Pesach, Harishon really connotates what? Not Pesach itself, but actually the day before Pesach, Erev Pesach, to tell us we need to destroy and eliminate the chametz on the day before. Well, if that's the case, it would mean then, I'm supposed to hold the day Erev Pesach holy and not work on Erev Pesach. So when your wife tells you to run out and go shopping on Erev Pesach, sorry, I can't do it, right? Ella, so the Gemara then goes and it says, fine, we're completely confused. Every time we want to figure this out, to figure out Erev Pesach, Erev Sukkot, the whole thing, we keep running into problems. The Gemara then goes ahead and says, we're going Hasidish. Forget it. All those Rishons, all those 3 Rishons are not coming to tell anything that we just learned. Ella, Hani, sorry, I'm getting... Ella, Hani Shloisha Rishon Miboyle. These 3 terms of Rishon, we need to look at the Tani Debei Rabbi Yishmael for what the Academy of Rabbi Yishmael, the Yeshiva of Rabbi Yishmael taught. The Tani Debei Rabbi Yishmael, for the Academy of Rabbi Yishmael taught. B'schar Shloisha Rishon, the reward. Sorry? Everything okay? Yeah. B'schar Shloisha Rishon. In the reward of fulfilling the 3 commandments that are called first.
No, it's none of this.
Rashi says, Shavisa Saregel, resting on the regel of Pesach, Shavisa Saregel the Chag, resting on Sukkot, Vinatilas Lulav, and taking the Lulav, Shenikru Rishonim, that are called first, Zochel Shloisha Rishon, you will be Zochel the 3 first. Zochel Shloisha Rishon. To eradicate the offspring of Esau, to build the construction of the Holy Temple, and to eradicate the offspring of Esau, because we just had this. In this week's parsha, the ksiv vayetze harishon admoini. I mean, last week's parsha. I mean, no, last week's parsha. The ksiv vayetze harishon admoini, and the first came out entirely red. Kulei kaderes seil, like entirely like a hairy mantle. Ulabinyan beis hamikdash, and for the binyan beis hamikdash, the ksiv kisei kava. Sorry, everything okay? Diksiv kisei kavod moraim mirishim mekoim mikdashenu. Like the throne of glory, kisei kavod moraim mirishim, exalted from the first. Again, from the first is the place of our sanctuary, is the place where we're going to put the Beis Hamikdash. U'l'shemoi shal Mashiach, and the name of Mashiach, Diksiv Rishon L'Tzion, the first of Zion. As you know, the chief rabbis are called Rishon L'Tzion. This is where it comes from, this pasuk. Rishon L'Tzion, the first of Zion, Hine Hinam, behold, they are here. And this is talking about the days of Mashiach. So, in other words, at this moment in time, we're all the way on the bottom of the Yomid, and we still don't know why in the world are we destroying the Chametz on Erev Pesach. We now have no link to teach us, because from the word Harishon, we can't learn anything, because it all gets confusing. So Rabba Abba Mehacha, this is how we learn, and this is like the most simplest way. Talking about the Korban Pesach, you shall not slaughter my blood offering of the Korban Pesach while in possession of chametz. You shall not check. You shall not sacrifice while you have chametz. You shall not slaughter the Pesach while your chametz is still in existence. Simple. When do we shech the Pesach? Starting at 6.5 hours on Erev Pesach. So before then, at the 6th hour, I've got to destroy the chametz. Simple, all done. So Zakumar, not so simple. The aim of kol chad v'chad ki. Maybe it goes by every person. Who said that at the 6th hour, everybody's got to burn the chametz, get rid of the chametz, eliminate the chametz? Maybe. If I decide to bring my Pesach at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so at 2:45, I'll destroy my chametz. Who said it's specific? The Gemara, Zaman Shchita Amarach Mother. The Torah is talking about the time of Shchita. You shall not offer, you shall not slaughter my blood Adam Zivchi. When does that get triggered? At 6.5 hours. And this is then a rule, more or less, that when Chazal and then the Torah set a law, they set it as broadly as possible. We try not to make it an individual, because you can see what trouble comes out of trying to individualize the law. Tanya Namahachi, we have a brisa that actually says it's just about straight out. Ach b'yoyim harishon, but on the first day, tashpisu sa'ar mibotechem, you shall eliminate sa'ar leaven from your house. Me'erev yontif, are we talking about the day before yontif? Ayeni ala b'yontif atzmo, or maybe on yontif itself. Talmud loima, therefore it says, lo sishchat al chametz dam zivti, you shall not slaughter the blood offering of the Korban Pesach while you have chametz in your house. Lo sishchat es ha-pesach ba'adayin chametz kayim, divrei Rabbi Yishmael. So Rabbi Yishmael supports Rava, and this is the simplest text. Now comes Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva, ain't it tzarech? I don't need all of this. I got even another way of doing it. Harehu oimer, ach b'yoyim harishon, but on the first day, tashpisu sa'or mibotechem, you shall eliminate from your homes. V'ksev kol malacha lo yisayid lo yeyotze behen. All labor should not be done. What is labor? Okay? Labor is obviously the 39 malachas of Shabbos, okay, which are taught compared, what do you call, that are taught from the Avodas HaMishkan, from the building of the tabernacle, because the building of the tabernacle and the discussion of Shabbos are brought together in the Torah, so the Chazal make a hekesh between the malachas and the thing. The thing is like this. Nowhere in the Torah is it clear, it doesn't say it anywhere, what the Lamates Malachas are. In fact, the term Lamates Malachas appears nowhere in the Torah itself. Only one Isser is said straight out. You shall not kindle a fire on your in all your dwellings on the day of the Sabbath. It's the only one. It's the only one of the 39 that are specifically quoted in the Torah. So Rabbi Kiva is saying like this: but on the first day you shall eliminate the chametz from your home. But it says about Pesach, all work you shall not do. Umetzinu lahavora, and we find regarding kindling, you shall not kindle any fire in your house. All of the Sabbath, it's one of the primary 39 malachas. So, if you're talking about Yontif itself, on Yontif itself, if you wanted me to destroy the chametz, and according to Rabbi Akiva, destroying means actual destroying, bittul, nullification by itself is not enough. Rabbi Akiva holds you actually have to burn the chametz. That you have to do a physical act of burning the chametz. It's not enough in machshava, which then leads to the daid. What he's saying is, therefore, if I'm telling to do it on Yontif, it would mean that you're being mechal Yontif. Elamai, it means that we have to do it erev Yontif. Of course, the question is, what are you talking about on Yontif? Of course, we kindle flames because we're allowed to cook on Yontif. So the Gemara is going to talk about that in a minute. Rabbi Yossi Omer enit tzarich. Hareyu Omer ach b'yom harishon tashpisu sa'ami b'teichem. But on the first you shall eliminate chametz from your homes. The erev Yontif, on the erev Yontif, or any other b'Yontif itself. Tamalayma ach cholek. Ach is that only part of the day you have to get rid of your chametz, but not all the day. Obviously, on Yontif itself, you're not allowed to have chametz completely. Elamai, therefore, it must be talking about the day before Yontif, that part of the day, because it's not actually Yontif, you're allowed to have chametz, but part of the day, you have to stop and get rid of, eliminate your chametz. And the Gemara says like this: the Ibi Yontif Atzmai Mishari. Is it permitted to keep any chametz even part of the day? Ha'ikis hashabat hashpasa sa'ar lachilas chametz, like we learned before. We compare the elimination of leavened bread to the prohibition of eating chametz. The achilas chametz and the prohibition of eating chametz, l'achilas matzah, to the positive commandment of eating matzah. And when does matzah start? The erev teichel matzahs, on the night of the 15th. So since matzah starts on the night of the 15th, so the issur of eating chametz starts at the night of the 15th. So too, that all your chametz has to be eliminated by the time I get to the night of the 15th. Therefore, obviously is talking about erev Pesach.
No, it doesn't make sense.
Amar Rava. I hope it's very confusing.
Yeah, it's not making sense. Since the Korban Pesach has to be brought on Yud Daled,
right?
And since it cannot be brought when you have chametz,
right?
So the first day Yontif should be Yud Daled Nisan,
but it's
and
not.
we call it Erev Pesach, and it's not Erev Pesach; it's Pesach.
No, it's not. It's Erev Pesach because the Torah tells us that Pesach starts on the 15th, not on the 14th.
I thought the Torah tells us that's Chag HaMatzos.
Right, Chag HaMatzos. Matzos begin on the night of the 15th. Be'erev, in the evening, toichol matzos, you shall eat matzos.
You know, the act of bringing the carbon starts on the 14th.
That's correct, but that is not yet Pesach. So that is exactly the confusion.
How could you bring Korban Pesach not on Pesach?
Because that's what God commanded. God commanded, bring it on the Erev Pesach. Exactly, and now you put your finger on it. The psukim, if you look at them in isolation, the words seem to contradict themselves. So the Gemara here is spending back and forth and back and forth. And believe me, this is not the hardest part. The hardest part is coming. I don't know if we're going to make it when we're down. It's getting worse. Let's keep going. Amarava, but you put your finger on it. Exactly. You just put your finger on it. Amarava. Now we're on top of Hayom and Beis. Shamanu Namu Rabbi Akiva Talas. We're going to learn three things out of Rabbi Akiva. Again, Rabbi Akiva said, but on the first day you shall eliminate the leaven. And it says, you should do no malacha. And I'm telling you, Rabbi Akiva says, you need to burn the chametz, and burning is an Isser Malacha because the Torah says it prepared. So now we learn three things. Shmamina ain't beer chametz elasarefa. That according to Rabbi Akiva, the destruction of chametz is only fulfilled through burning. You actually have to do a physical act of burning. Not everybody agrees with this, as we well know. But that's what Rabbi Akiva holds. In other words, like I said before, that havara, losabaru eish, kindling was the only one of the 39 malachas that was specifically mentioned in the Torah. How come? It was coming to teach us that when we think about the 39 malachas, if a person were to forget Shabbos, it's called a helam. If a person would forget it Shabbos and be over and would break all 39 prohibitions, he would have to bring 39 different chatasses, 39 different sacrifices to ask for atonement for the thing. It's not considered like it's just one Shabbos, which you happen to have done things, but you really were over on Shabbos. No, you were over on kindling, you were over on building. How do we know this? Because the Torah goes out of its way to take one of the 39 prohibitions and to specifically beprat, not beklal, but beprat, not globally, but beprat, specifically brings it out. And the third thing is ushma mina lo yamrinan hoyu v'hutra havara l'tzarech chutanami shaloi l'tzarech. And we do not say, according to Rabbi Akiva, since on Yom Tov we do allow kindling to cook l'tzarech achila for the needs of food, to cook for food, we have a rule throughout Shas. If I allow something for one thing, it's allowed completely. Rabbi Akiva says, no, I do not hold to that rule, at least over here by chametz. I do not hold that rule. I hold that even though it's mutter on Yom Tov to kindle for food, for everything else, you're not allowed. Now let's go further. Tanu Rabbana. I'm going to try to go a little quicker because we only really have officially 4 minutes. We might go slightly over time unless you guys shoot me. Tanu Rabbana. Shivas Yom Sa'ar Lo Yomotzav B'Batechem. The 7-day period, 11 should not be found in your homes. Ma Tamid Loima. What is this? Why do I need this pasuk? Ba'aloi Kvar Nema. Do we already have another pasuk? Lo Yeroy Lecho Chametz. Chametz shall not be seen by you. But Lo Yeroy Lecho Sa'ar B'Chol G'Velechta. And no leaven shall be seen by you in all of your borders. B'Chol G'Velechta, in all of your borders. So, since one's house is obviously within one's borders, so you have over here, everybody's house is bordered by a nice garden, right? So that's in your house. Your house is within your property line. So what do I need another pasuk? The pasuk here clearly says you cannot see chametz, which means I must get rid of it, right? So why do I need a pasuk that says Shivas Yomim Sar Lo Yimotz B'Techem? It seems to be an extra pasuk. Lefi Shenema. So the Gemara explains like this, and I'm going to say this right now. This Gemara is going to seem like a contradiction, back and forth, back and forth. You need to be patient until we get to the end of the Gemara. The Gemara will clean itself up, as it were, from the way it sounds all the way at the end. It says, Lebanon, you shall not be seen by you. That means your chametz that you own, you shall not see. But you're allowed to see the chametz of Goyim and the chametz of the Most High, of Hegdish. It's chametz that doesn't belong to anybody, that belongs to Hegdish, that belongs to the Beis Hamikdash. Because it doesn't belong to you. Yochel Yatmin, I might have thought that I could even take it further and then just take my own chametz and hide it and don't bother selling it and don't bother nullifying it, just hiding it in the closet. And since I'm allowed to see a guy's chametz, I'll go into the business of actually accepting deposits from goyim of their chametz and make a little money on the side, since the chametz is not mine. Talmud loyma lo yimatzeh, sar shivas yomim sar lo yimatzeh. You shall not find, it shall not be found. You can't go so far. Something Gemara, Ein li ela b'nochri shaloi kibashtoi. This is only by a nochri, a guy that is not under your domain. That means he's not holding the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. Ve'ein ishari imach b'chotzer, does not live with you in the chotzer. It's you live in a chotzer of only Jews. Nochi shekibashtoi. Visari imach b'chatza, but a guy that is under your authority, that it does hold the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach, Visari imach b'chatza, but does live with you in the grove, minayin, how do I know that I'm not allowed to take in his chametz? Talmud loyma, in other words, I'm not allowed to go ahead and take a deposit of his chametz. Talmud loyma lo yimotzi b'beteichem, which shall not be found in your homes. Now the Gemara is going to ask, this doesn't make any sense. If madach, a guy that's not under your dominion and doesn't live in the chutzah, you're not allowed to do, then certainly a guy that is under your domain and does live together with you, of course you're not allowed to. So what's the question of the Gemara? And the Gemara is actually going to ask that question in a couple of minutes. From the first pasuk, I only know that it's also to keep chametz, which is in your home. How do I know that it's also to keep chametz? It's prohibited in your ditches, your pits, and your vaults, in your safe deposit box. If you empty out your pool and you want to put chametz in there, you're not allowed to do it. Talmud loyma b'chol givulecha, in all of your borders, in all of your property lines. But now I can say the opposite, and this is where it's going to seem like it's twisting itself into a pretzel. Bottom in the homes, one can transgress, it shall not be seen and it shall not be found. Bal yatmin, and you're not allowed to hide your chametz. Nor can you accept deposits from the guy and make some business. But in your boundaries, your chametz you may not see. You can see the chametz of others, of the guy, the shel gavoya, and the Most High from Hegdish. So you're going to tell me, wait a minute, you just said I'm not allowed to see. So the Gemara is going to explain the seemingly contradiction in their own words. Give it a, I said, just hang out with us. How do I know that I can flow back and forth, that there's a difference over here of shalacha in my house versus what's going on in my property line? Talmud loima sa'ar. The word sa'ar is found twice, like gezeira shava. You remember I explained before, when the Torah brings the same word in two different places that have similarities, it means that the Torah is drawing our eye to it and wants us to learn something. Nema sa'ar, leaven, babatim, in the houses. Sa'ar lo yimatza b'betecha. Leaven bread you shall not found in your house. V'nema sa'ar b'gevulin, and it says leaven bread in your boundaries, in your borders, and what does it say? Lo yireh l'cha sa'ar b'chol gevulecha. You shall not see any sa'ar in your boundaries, in your borders. Ma sa'ar amar b'batim. Just like the word sa'ar, leaven, which says by the homes. Oiva mishum bal yireh b'yimatza, you transgress, you shall not see, you shall not find. Bal yatmin, you shall not hide your chametz. Uval yikabel pikudonis menanochin, you're not allowed to accept deposits from the goyim. Therefore, leaven that it says by the borders, and not to hide and accept deposits. Similarly, now let's go the other way. Just like it says sa'ar, by the borders. Yours you're not allowed to see. But you're allowed to see the chametz of a guy and of hefker. So too, the leaven that it says in the pasuk by the houses, yours you can't see, but you're allowed to see the guys and from Most High. So which means essentially we just went opposite. You are allowed to see the guys, but really the pasuk's calling tell us really you're not allowed to see the guys. You're not allowed to accept their chametz or not. So the Gemara obviously has to explain this. First of all, it's going to go right back to the beginning. Amamar. We said before, we said before, we have a provision of keeping chametz only with according to a guy that you do not dominate, that's not under your domination, does not hold the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. Does not live with you in the same courtyard. But a guy that is under your authority and lives together with you in the grove, right? How do you know that we're not allowed to take the chametz? You shall not find. If you remember before, I asked you, it's just the opposite. If madach a goy that's not under your authority and doesn't live with you, you're not allowed to have his chametz. Certainly a goy that does live with you and is under your domain, of course you're not allowed to have. So what's the Gemara asking over here? So is the Gemara klape liar? This doesn't make any sense. Amar Abaye, Epoch, you're right, reverse it. We have the wrong order. It should say, a guy that under your authority lives in your chutzah, you're not allowed. How do I know a guy that doesn't live in your chutzah and is not under your authority, you're also not allowed? Talmud Loimer lo yimotze. Rava Amar no. La'olam lo tepech. Don't switch things. Va'arei koy. It's going on the beginning. Shelecha i'ataroya. From yours you may not see. Aval ataroya shalachein mishal gavay. But you're allowed to see the guys and your side. Zok Gemara Eili Ela B'Nachri Shaloi Kibashta. I only know this by a guy who you do not dominate. Bein Sharich Imcha B'Chotzer. Nachri Shekibashta B'Sari Imcha B'Chotzer Minayim. How do I know that a guy that lives with you and is under your authority, you are allowed to see his chametz, right? You are allowed to see his chametz. Talmud Loimer lo yimot say you shall not find. The Gemara asks right away, this study is trying to find a permissibility to say that you're allowed to have any guy's chametz in your house, and he brings the pasuk of lo yamatzi, you're not allowed to. And for the Gemara, we have two psukim that say the word lecha lecha. All the mathematicians, two negatives make a positive. The Gemara's, that's the Gemara's tab. I've got yours to teach us. Two negatives make a positive. That no, it's okay. You can have the guy's thing. So now, Amamar, Yochel Yatman, we're almost to the bottom, amazing, and we're only 5 minutes overtime. Amamar, Yochel Yatman. I might have thought that one may hide his chametz without being mevatalik or putting it in a closet. What do you call it? Without selling it, be kabbalah gainis min anachim. And since I'm allowed to see the chametz of a guy, I should be allowed to go into business and take deposits of their chametz and make some money. Talmud loyal lo yimotzi. You shall not find. Zok the Gemara. Arbitration, but you just finished saying. From yours you will not see. But you're allowed to see the chametz of a guy and of the Most High, of the Hegdish. So I am allowed to see the guy's chametz. So why can't I go into business? The Gemara like Kasha. The Kabbalah Le'achrayis. The last section of the Bryce is saying you're not allowed to accept deposits because you're accepting responsibility. Accepting responsibility is a portion of ownership. In the first section, where the Jew does not accept the Christ, his next door neighbor says, "Listen, can you store some chametz?" And you tell him, "Let's go up." By the way, this is halacha l'maisa, because look at you. Everybody here knows. For example, I have a granddaughter that's not well. We have nurses in our house. On Pesach, what do I do with the nurses? You know what I do with the nurses? Very simple. They have their room where they are with her. It's not my chametz. Whether they bring in the chametz or don't bring in the chametz is not my business. As long as they don't bring it into my kitchen, it's not a problem. That's exactly this. That's this Gemara. All of us that have nurses and things like that on Pesach that are taking it's based on this Gemara. We're almost done. Here we go. Just like Rabbi said to the people of the town of Mechayza, remove the chametz of the Gentile soldiers that are in your homes. The Greeks or the Romans brought soldiers into Mechuzah and they billeted themselves in their houses and they put chametz in the houses of the Jews. Because if it would get lost or stolen, even though you never asked for their chametz, you never asked for their produce, but they put it in your house, and if for whatever reason it would get lost or stolen, it would be considered in your possession, and you would need to pay. The government would make you pay. It's like it's yours. If you have a monetary worry about it, that's already ownership, and it's yours, and you got to do something about it. This is very good according to the one that says that if you have something that might turn into a monetary situation, it already is like a monetary situation. which means that I might, if it gets lost and stolen, then I'll have a monetary obligation. That's enough to say that's enough of the ownership that you've got to go ahead and sell or lock away their chametz. El Ramadi, I'm a lock the moment. I mean, no. When you have a monetary obligation, then you have it. Until you don't have it, it's not considered a monetary duty. Here by chametz, we're being more stricter. That's the thing. All right, we'll stop right here. We're going to step tomorrow. We'll do this again, guys. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving.